the state of Geo in Genshin right now is very strange. Like, you have few characters here that scale on HP, say Zhongli. Then you have a few that scale on defense, say Ito and Noel. You have Goro, who buffs your defense and your Geo abilities. You have Yunjin, who buffs your attack speed. You have Ningguang, who's a full-on DPS unit, but she does not scale on anything. I mean, it's actually pretty strange how Geo is right now. It's one of the most confused elements in the game, and I'm going to tell you why Navia probably wouldn't revolutionize Geo as an element. So the issue with Navia and Geo is that, from what I've heard from some sources, Navia is going to utilize the crystallized shields and all. But that was also my speculation, like way before when she was revealed. I thought that she's going to be something like Nilu, who's going to use the crystal shields that we get from Geo and somehow turn them into, I don't know, shattering shields or something. Now that's one of the main concepts that I have for a Geo rework, and why Geo definitely needs something like that. The issue with Geo is that it's a non-reactive element. Like, it does not react with anything except forming crystallized shields, and it only forms crystallized shields with Pyro, Hydro, Cryo, and Electro. So Anemo and Dendro are left out, and that makes absolutely no sense, honestly, because Dendro should have been included, but whatever. Now, the lack of Geo is that you have to rely on raw damage, and raw damage is really something hard to come by in a game that's much more focused on elemental reactions, and especially after Dendro, when you have Hyper Bloom, Persian, Nilu Bloom, and then you have your normal Bloom, you have Burning, you have Quicken, Aggravate. It's so complex, and then you have Geo, which basically does nothing. So what Geo really needs is a complete rework. Like, it needs, from the bottom to the top, it needs a complete change. Those crystallized shields need to get buffed. My idea would be, when you get a crystallized shield, either it can shatter, like similar to Noel's shield when it shatters. I think it's from a C4. But when it shatters, you could probably apply that element on that character. Like, if you pick up a Electro crystal shield, and when it shatters, it applies Electro on the opponents. So then that helps you create another crystal, or you could start another reaction. If you have a Pyro character or a Hydro character, you can do Overload or Electrocharge or something like that. That would be a pretty cool concept, and would help basically make Geo more useful. Like, those crystallized shields would actually be more helpful that way. The other thing that Geo could probably rework is its reaction state with Pyro, Hydro, and Dendro. I mean, like, if you think about it, it's a rock. What happens when rock meets fire? It melts, right? So you can have a molten state that somehow deals increased burn damage, or you could apply a molten state that, I don't know, when you can apply a molten state, and then if you apply Hydro on it, you can petrify the characters. Like, Zhongli's burst has that petrification ability, so that could have been a reaction. Like, Zhongli has that on a button tab, but if you have a complex reaction, like imagine Geo plus Pyro, and then you apply Hydro, you get petrified, which is similar to Frozen. Now, I know people would opt that Frozen is much easier to use because of the Hydro plus Cryo combination, but that would make Geo a lot more complex and a lot more, like, you could think about it. You can make teams like that. Like, imagine this: I have Yelan, Hu Tao, Zhongli, and let's say I put Noel for the double Geo resonance. So Zhongli's pillar creates crystallized shields, obviously, because Hu Tao's attack's gonna hit him, and in the vicinity of it, the enemies affected by Pyro are gonna drop those crystal shields. Now, say you pick up a crystal shield, you attack with Yelan, They can she's gonna apply Hydro, and then the enemy gets petrified. That could be a good way to make things work. Or you could have Geo plus Dendro work and make something like, I don't know, uh, what could it be? Holden or something? Like, you could basically say that if rock meets grass, it's gonna get stuck in the ground. So that could like bind basically. Yeah, you could create bind. That would be a good reaction. Like imagine Geo meets Dendro and you have vines growing all around the enemy for a set amount of time. So it's gonna be similar to Frozen again, but it's gonna have a different animation. It's gonna have different effects. Like with Frozen, you can have melt or superconduct. With bind, you could probably have burning or bloom or quicken because Dendro is gonna be the better, the superior element over there. With petrify, you could probably have hydro as a superior element because it's the last element that's getting applied, and then you could have vaporize with it or electrocharged with it, or maybe add some dendro. I mean, the possibilities are endless, but it needs a solid rework. Like crystallize isn't going to cut it, and don't get me started on the animo plus geo combination because it just makes no sense. Like we could have gotten a sandstorm like effect. Like imagine this, Geo plus Animo creates a sandstorm that blinds the opponent, that makes them confused or attacks their own allies. It could have been an amazing reaction. So like Geo needs something more right now. Even if Navia comes out and with the stuff that she's coming out with, I don't think she's gonna revolutionize Geo because Geo is broken at its core, and to rebuild an element, you need to build it from scratch again. Now, I hope Natlan is going to improve that or improve something because right now Geo isn't it. And honestly, if Navia hadn't been Navia, I probably would have skipped that character because I have no requirement for Geo. I got Zhongli right now, and while he's good and he has an amazing shield and he has defense shred and resistance shred from his burst and his shield, but I still need a healer with him, mainly because that healer applies a good element. Like I have Barbara, she applies Hydra. I have Baiju, he applies Dendro. That element is more useful for reactions in the overworld, in the current abyss cycle, in event domains, everything. Zhongli isn't cutting it, and that's kind of sad because he's an Archon, and Geo was an element that released with the game, like Land of Geo released in version 1.0. So to see it age like milk is actually terrible. And if you think about it, Navia is going to be the first Geo character after Yunjin, and Yunjin came out like, what was it? 2022 January. Yep, 2022 January. Now it's 2023 and it's gonna be November soon. So, like, seriously, you can see even how much Hoyoverse cares about Geo. And it's kind of sad because Mono Geo is actually really good. I've seen people use that team, and Ito, Goro, slap on a Zhongli, add Ning Wang to the mix, or maybe Albedo, and you got a solid team there. But Mono Geo isn't going to cut it for a long time. Like, this game's only going to get bigger and bigger, and we need the reaction system to evolve. Like, Dendro was the biggest change and the most meta-defining change in the game. I mean, Dendro introduced an entire new meta that is still relevant in Fontaine. Like, Numa and Osea are good, but Dendro beats that. Like, I still use Nilu Bloom in the Spiral Abyss and I can clear it at 33 or 34 stars. And I think that's good enough for me because I've been doing that since free Sumeru, and it's solid. It's working right now. The new Maosia doesn't affect Dendro at all. So they really need to mix it up. They really need to actually fix something, at least anything related with GEO. Because while Numa and Osea are going to get important in the later patches, because as the enemies get buffer and buffer, you will need characters that can apply Osea and Numa. And we have a severe lack of Osea characters right now, but that's a video for another time. In this one, GEO honestly needs a rework, and I really hope somewhere down the line this video reaches someone on the Hoyoverse team, and then they pass this message on to the higher ups, and then they figure stuff out, and hopefully GEO gets a revamp. I don't know. It is what it is. In the future, we'll see. But until then, this is just a casual rant, you can say. If you enjoyed this, subscribe for more rants. I don't know. I have lots of ideas, like, the new Maosia stuff. I could probably make something on that later. But yeah, your support means a lot. Please subscribe and have a great day. Goodbye.